right, welcome back to the podcast. We have Stephen Maxwell on. So, Stephen, I always kick these off with people's LinkedIn bios because I think it tells a lot about what they're trying to put out into the world. So, pinpoint, solve, strengthen at Leavitt Group. Is that correct?
Leavitt Group,
Leavitt
out
Group.
of Utah.
Enterprises, charter, property, casualty, underwriter, insurance. I love that there's going to be some captive questions in here because I'm in a captive and I find them fascinating, but also scary for people who don't know about them. We're going to get into some of those questions. So, one, thanks for coming on.
Yes, absolutely happy to be here.
So we just got done with a juicy 5 minutes before we hit record, and we were talking all things gaming, and I was super, super jazzed about it. So you also are a fellow gamer yourself. You still game. I love that you said Battlefield. It's actually my favorite multiplayer game that I still play, mostly because I'm not as good as, I'm not as random as I need to be good at shooters anymore, like just hitting sticks and getting crazy. But if I get in a tank, I can go 68-0 and I feel like a complete baller again.
Oh yeah. Hey, well, but so here's the real main question I want to ask you.
Okay.
So, what's the best Battlefield game? Like
4.
Scenery, just 4? Yeah, 4. And then maybe Battlefield 1 right after that?
Yeah, 1's good. I love 5 too. 1's so cinematic. I think that's why I love it so much. And the music slaps 100%. But have you gone back to 1 lately?
I have.
So I went back
always
to
go back.
Yeah, so I went back recently because I was like, I love all of them, period. But I was like, I'm going to go back in because I missed this game. Well, only the OGs play 1 anymore, and I got smacked around.
Yeah, only the like everyday dudes that have been absolutely just roasting on there. Like Broken Machine on YouTube
Love him.
is a yes. Oh, dude. Yeah, he's awesome. So I love Broken Machine.
Yeah,
I love it when he's on there shredding and people are like talking trash on those chats and he's just shredding them. I think he's in England somewhere, but
Yeah.
like I love having some coffee and just catching a chill stream when he's going on. Dude, is very talented.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
it
his
takes a lot
Warzone
to do
streak
that.
is like 2,700 wins or something. Like, it's ridiculous.
Oh man, yeah, dude, I really like Broken Machine, but I love those like retro YouTubers that'll go through and rank all the maps, best maps of all time, so I can go back and me and my friend Clay in the balls chat, we have an Instagram chat. It's just a bunch of my LSU buddies and
Yeah.
Tennessee buddies and a Clemson buddy. We talked about just going back and sharing the memories of like just those old Black Ops. So is it Black Ops? Is it Modern Warfare? What's the top? And you have to do like a top 10 for like you have to branch it out.
Yeah.
But we just you go back in time a little bit. And then my buddy Clay, I'm like, dude, you remember we played Zombies when it first came out? We were in college and we would go the levels we would go to. But we had one guy. We had one guy that. Literally, he ended up marrying this girl, but COD probably broke up his marriage, man. I'm telling you,
Dude,
seriously,
you
it
gotta
ruined
regulate.
everything.
You gotta regulate.
And it's like, do I forget to take my wife to dinner, or is his then girlfriend at LSU, or is it all come crashing down? And I'd really get zoned in on COD, on zombies, and you're absolutely missing that day. Everybody's missed that day. You know what I mean?
That is, what's really funny is my main argument, one of the things, because gaming in that realm gets a really bad rap, but I think everything's in moderation, right? Because if you go to the golf course, I'm not a golfer myself, but that's a 4 to 6 hour evolution as well, right? And you're missing some stuff, and people miss some stuff when they're heading to the golf course, and then you go to the clubhouse afterwards, and it turns into a 8-hour shift, whatever that looks like. So I'm with you. I think everything in regulation is positive, as long as you can. I like to keep a 50% creative, 50% consume ratio in my life. That's how I try to regulate that. So if I'm going to go play for 4 hours on a Sunday, I got to pay myself 4 hours in either editing a video or getting podcast stuff ready or whatever. So I try to pay myself to have that time off.
Yeah, that's smart.
It's hard some days.
Yeah, it's like monetizing what you already do. And like, I'm really good on commentary. My friends have always wanted me to be in a podcast to talk about LSU football or just anything, because I'm just kind of I'm a fan of LSU, but sure. I still like to branch out into other people's teams and talk about, their experiences with their colleges, or, college sports is really, football is really my big thing. And I just love to talk about, like
Awesome.
we're going to the LSU Clemson game August 30th, which is my birthday,
It's a
in
big
the game
day.
one. So that's going to be huge. We're going to go get a rent a place out in Clemson. That'll be our first time going there.
Awesome.
And it's a rematch from the 19 Natty. So my buddy went to Clemson. He really wants to run it up the score for that one.
Well, you gave me an idea. Maybe we'll have to do a top 10 gaming something, because I haven't done one of those yet. I've talked about gaming in the past, but not on the level of actually ranking. And it could either be games or maps of all time. We could do a whole host of things. So, yeah, I'll brainstorm some things and maybe we can put something together for the future, because that's got my juices flowing.
It gets very good traffic, and I will say this: there was one ball I found that ranked every single COD map from the beginning, dude. Like leaving out and even Battlefield too, but like from the beginning, and I'm talking about all the way to the very legendary first game, which like COD 4 Modern Warfare, and then it
Oh,
went into everyone,
be
even
still my
Black
heart.
Ops. Oh, dude, it was awesome. And I was like, this is just I just went back in time 25 years
I know.
till the day, and it got me so juiced up that I purchased all the expansion packs for the maps for my PS2, my 3 and 4 and
Let's
5, and
go,
I just went in,
dude.
I went in it. I can go back and play any COD or Battlefield that's been created that anyone
Oh,
wants to play on any platform. And my
dang.
wife is like, dude, this is crazy. You're buying downloadable content from the year 2011. I was like, babe, but I gotta have this
Complete the
expansion pack.
set.
She's like, baby, you needed to have that 15 years ago. Just play the regular allotment. You told me these games were awesome, and the drop in the non-expansion packs, the games drop great. It's like, yeah, but there's always that like one map. There's always that one map, that one expansion, at least that you want to go back and play.
I just bought a 2012 game this week. I went back and I'm playing, speaking of my chair, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, because I love the pirate lore of that game so much. And I've been putting it off because it's been still expensive. It's on sale for $11.99 right now, and I bought it for $12, and I am in it deep. Love it.
Oh, I got into that. That's a great. I love that theme, the pirate theme.
Me too, dude. The Bahamas, the blue water. It was so good.
It made
Anyway,
me think of the Johnny Depp when I was growing up, the
uh,
Johnny Depp pirate
uh,
movie a little bit, the Pirates
yeah,
of the
Pirates of
Caribbean.
the
I
Caribbean. Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
not kind of just a loose connection, but I love that theme.
Me too. I love nautical, that time period. I loved Black Sails. Did you see that on Stars when it was out? That was a great show. There hasn't been
Hmm.
one like it. That's really focused on like the pirate lore and everything. I wish they'd come out with something, because
Hmm.
Pirates of the Caribbean was fine, but it's more kiddish. I love Black Sails because it was kind of more adult. But
Right.
well, yeah, that's your gaming news for today, ladies and gentlemen. So hopefully you enjoyed that, because when someone wants to talk gaming, I'm all in. Okay, so I want to get into you, Stephen. So you entered the insurance industry. We had a long-standing aspiration influenced by your family's involvement. What aspects of your family's experience inspired you, and how has your personal journey shaped your approach to risk management?
Well, so have you ever seen My Cousin Vinny?
Yeah,
So my father's a mechanic, my brother's a mechanic, my whole family's in mechanics when she's doing the expert deal.
yeah,
So that's one of my favorite movies. And what that means to me is just my whole family's been in insurance.
okay,
So I might have started right when I graduated at LSU at college, but I was doing really nerdy stuff with insurance audits on GL and comp. I was
nice,
already in because my dad had started his own business in the
yeah,
70s, and I had came into the business, and I'd always, I'm a little weird. Like a lot of people in insurance just fall into it after they did something else. Just like, I never would have expected this. But like, I can truly and honestly go into a room today or in high school and they ask me, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like an insurance guy,
good for
just an
you.
insurance professional. And they're like, really? They're like, yeah, yeah.
So were
Sounds
your
a kid.
dinner tables always around? Like, was dad bringing you in early and letting you know about risk and how it all works and everything? Because it's still, even for me, and I'm into the heavier stuff like captives and things like that, it's still confusing, I think, for a lot of the general public.
Yeah, so in captives in particular is my deep passion. So I got into that not very long ago. So what ultimately drew me to captives is the ability to sell something that the insured wants to buy. And forever insureds, like I hate this. And as a when you come up in the business, you're a salesman. If you're not a value driven guy, you're transactional, which is what most insurance is.
Yeah.
Even though a lot of people don't want it to be, and they try to keep it away from price. So I thought to myself, I want to sell products that people like, and no one likes insurance. And then time goes by. I don't understand this. I've never read my policies. My agent's never read my policies. I
Mm.
probably know more. That's what I tell insurance a lot. It's like, you probably have more real world experience than the guy that sold you that policy. And they're like, huh? Because you see this, like the agents that write, very successful agents, they write these businesses and construction, these high premium deals, and you'll be in a room like, my agent's the best. He's a guru. Everybody thinks their agent's a guru, and I'm just like, if you ever knew, you're so many agents who you can get on a Zoom meeting and like, hey Steven, or hey such and such, like, what is this? How do I write this? How do I address this
Mm.
coverage? And it's truly collaborative at agencies because it's so dynamic with business insurance from personal lines. But in general, with captives, that was my passion because ultimately I keep it really simple. I want to be able to customize a policy and have a bespoke policy and ask somebody what keeps you up at night. Because you can't do that with any other type of commercial insurance. Commercial insurance policies are designed to address what the carrier wants to insure and what they don't want to insure, not what you want how you want them to treat the claim, how you want them to insure the actual risks of your business.
Yeah.
So what will you find? I'd say, well, here's my style. I'd say, well, how would you feel if this was a retained loss that you didn't know what happened? Let's look at some high impact claims, and I'm going to start naming some things in your policies that aren't covered, or they're covered way less than you think they are. The total cost of the claim is just not covered. It's a disaster. And I want to ask him, I said, is this financially, are you cool with this next week? And then,
Mm.
and then that's when you'll keep going, and you'll get a guy who's a little bit risky, because a lot of business owners, you have to respect this. They're risky people. They said,
Yeah.
Stephen,
They're
I take risks.
entrepreneurs.
I understand. I don't care. And I'm like, all right, I understand you don't care, but trust me, this will take 20 or 30 minutes because I have these $1 million high impact claims that I've looked at on Chat GPT thousands of times. And I've checked it with the forms, because the forms are standardized
Yeah.
national and commercial insurance. So the trick to it is, business owners don't understand this, but a lot of it's standardized, as well it should be, because you
Correct.
can't decide on price in the commercial market if you don't have standardized forms and you don't
Mm.
have some semblance of standardization. So it gives agents the ability to come in and say, hey, you don't got this endorsement. What do you think about that? You think your policy covered this? And every single time they'll say, Stephen, I pay all this premium. I expect something. My premium goes up even when I don't use it at renewal. It's in a hard market cycle. Coverages are getting stripped off of my policies. This is, again, the commercial space. Another reason why you gravitate towards captives.
Yep.
So, in particular with captives, I'm a CPCU. I'm a subject matter expert in insurance,
What
which
does
is beyond
CPCU stand for?
certified property and casualty
Okay.
underwriter. And it's just a study done by the institutes, and it's got about used to have 10 parts, but I think it's 8. But it's pretty much the same level of stuff. You've got insurance law, you've got insurance accounting and finance. So I go beyond just policy understandings of policies. We go into case studies on how
Nice.
actually policies play out and how the courts have fought it in different states across the country. Because the interesting thing is, all insurance policies is a combination of all the times they screwed up in the wording of a policy and wanted to have it say something different. But here's the deal. You're in court, and if the insured can reasonably interpret a policy in their favor, well, guess what? The courts favor that because they didn't write the policy. That's how it should be. So
Yeah.
I love like the gray area with trying to help insurance before it even gets to court or anything. Like if we have a liability claim, I love just teaching them how to talk, how prepping them on like, hey, we need to be honest here and do this, comply with the conditions of the policy. But here's what you can expect. Transferring liability risk is not fun. You have to be quiet. You can't admit fault, and you might want the insurance company to pay the claim, and you think you're guilty, but you can't do that because you're going to prejudice their right for your defense. So
Mm.
they're protecting their limits. They're not necessarily coming in to protect what you want to do. You forfeited all that. So, and that's another reason why captive is good, because you own your own risk a little bit, and you get to select your own TPAs and lawyers, and everything about it is the way have said it to captive management companies is what do you feel about captive? Said it's the way insurance should have been, the way an insured intended it to be or wanted it to be. So my thoughts were, I want to go talk to big businesses that aren't in captives and get that, like you said, get their anxiety down a
Yep.
little bit with all the fear mongering, and just look at what you're actually doing, and using it as a tool for returns, and to obviously stabilize your insurance rates over the long term.
Yeah, I think when we got in, it was confusing, but the big sell for I think for us was you actually have a seat at the table, right? You have a chip and you get to vote on. Like it's like you actually have say. Where if you're in the general market, you don't have any say, and you're getting tossed around all over the place. And like you said, things are getting stripped without your premiums are going up, but things are still getting stripped away. Like you don't have that in captives. You actually have everyone in the group has skin in the game. Now you have to protect the gate by letting only people in, and from a safety. I love the continuous improvement on safety. I love learning from the other members in the captive. Like there's so many positives beyond just the insurance side of things. I think that the group peer pressure is a huge motivator to not be the shittiest company in the group, which
Yes, and
automatically raises the boat.
that's a group captive model, which is a way for middle market contractors, but not just contractors. We're talking about the captive insurance market has exploded,
I heard.
and group captives are a means with which, for middle market business, that's let me get through that jargon. What that means, from when an insurance says middle market, that means real people who are running like 100 to 5 to 600 to 1,000 employees, real businesses that you could call, not Cisco or
Right.
McDonald's. It's not becoming the product of just the super huge mega companies. You can each own a share of stock in a group, but then again, also what we're really seeing is just the innovative nature of it. That people are unwinding from the group and wanting to go out on their own in a
Mm.
single parent model, where they own the whole thing, and they have a little more control over their coverages. You can
Interesting.
add property insurance into it. So group captives, you can only do the major casualty lines. But what we're seeing in the commercial market and property is that that's the worst line, especially if you're in a cat zone or southeast.
Yep.
The zones are what I'm talking about with the hurricanes and the tornadoes.
Mhm.
That those it's hard to secure coverage, and you're getting these high wind and hail percentage deductibles on your property insurance, and you can't put that in a captive unless you get into a more, not a group
Okay.
product, but more of a single parent captive, which is where you wholly own a subsidiary, an insurance company, and it insures all your businesses, but
Interesting.
no unrelated third party business.
Yeah, it's not something we think about a lot in the Northeast because we don't have the weather you guys run into down there. So I can see, because I've heard the horror stories of the Florida houses and along the Gulf and the beach, and the insurance companies are just saying no.
Nope. Louisiana, they don't want to do business. They don't want to do business because you can't win in court in Louisiana. It's too litigious, and there's too many plaintiff attorneys. And it's just not an environment where an insurance carrier can defend themselves and the
Mm.
policy and actually come up with, hey, look, this is the policy. And we're talking about gray area. We're not talking about like bad faith
Yeah,
acting in court. We're talking about them paying claims that they should not have paid. And I have to explain to insureds and the general public that you have to have an environment where insurance companies feel like they can win every once in a while when it's fair. So if it's not fair to an insurance company, what happens? So, Stephen, who cares about the insurance company? Who cares? I'll tell you who cares. When all those insurance companies leave Louisiana, and you're an agent, and you have no other markets, and the price is terrible, the
it's a
experience is
monopoly.
terrible, and they're losing money, and they can't charge enough to get a profit, then number one, your state turns into basically captive options only. But
Mm.
in general, it's not good. I want both healthy commercial markets and captive
Sure.
options. I
Yeah.
want options.
Yeah. If you don't have options, obviously everything's going to increase. It's all going to go back to the consumer or the insured anyway. And that's why you should care.
Right. And the politicians are like, we're going to make these companies pay. We're going to shake these people down. And you're like, they're private companies. They don't have to do business with you. They'll go to Texas. If you go in any other state, Texas in the South, it's so much cheaper to own a business and start a business in Texas and Louisiana, especially if it's South Louisiana versus
Wow.
anywhere in Texas. So I tell people it's got to be healthy and go both ways.
Yeah, it's really good. With captive insurance, especially for business owners, how do you simplify the concept for clients, and what are some of the common misconceptions you encounter?
Huge misconception is they're taking this huge catastrophic risk. So reinsurance is a fancy term for capping your losses. You're only really in a group captive, for instance, you're only really funding the first two, three, four, 500, 500,000 per claim for your auto, workers comp, and your GL.
Yep.
So what that means is you've got your fund. Usually it's an AB fund format, and the B fund is the shared fund. So anything that goes over, let's say, 100 to 150,000 is actually shared by the entire group. And really, everything under 100,000 per claim is going to be shared out of your own individual fund. So the answer to your question in terms of misnomers is people automatically assume. I get this a lot. Oh, but Stephen, we had one big claim. But if you have one big claim, you're done in a captive because you're taking on all this risk, and they do not understand the fundamental structure of reinsurance and how that sits over your
Right.
captive, and how that is totally mitigated to where you're just pre-funding that first, individually, the first 100, 150,000, and then
Yep.
the up to 500,000. Everything above that 500,000 per claim is reinsurance.
Yep. Yeah, and then you have the risk sharing piece, but that's where the continuous improvement comes in, right? Where you have
Right.
either an analysis yearly, or you have some sort of safety metrics you got to hit, or policies, or whatever. I mean, yeah, I've seen such a huge, like I do quite a bit of sharing. We have our meetings biannually, and when we get that pamphlet, I go to our scorecard and how we score against our other members. And I say
Right.
to our team, we have a weekly safety roundtable, and I bring that score up and say, this is where we did well, and this is where we didn't do well. Why do you think that happened? Do you remember what happened in that time period, right? In that closed period, these are how many either incidents or non-OSHA versus OSHA recordables we had in that time period. And really just the education piece on what an OSHA is versus isn't, prescription versus not, right? And so I think that's because I was never in the trades, but worked quite a lot in, sorry, my dog's barking, worked quite a lot in project management. And even in that world, like, I feel like everybody shies away from just being really honest with, hey, go get whatever coverage you need, but let's talk clearly about the choices you have and how it affects the company. And I wish they
Mhm.
wouldn't.
Yeah, precisely. I think there's a lot of misnomers with captives, but I will tell you this: if you look at the growth of captives since just in the last 10 years, it's not, they call it alternative risk, which I think is really stupid because that's what they called it in the 80s. Now it's like 50% of your premiums are going to an owned subsidiary, either through like a stock company that's a group captive, or it's your own wholly owned subsidiary. So we're moving up towards half of the businesses, and even nonprofits, for-profit, nonprofit, even public entities are coming into these captives. And what really is happening is the top 10 to 15% of every insurance company's book, all the really good risks, all the really good contractors are saying, I'm tired of subsidizing the losses of the bottom 20 or 30%. They don't want to do right. They look, you don't do right. You stay where you're at in the commercial market, take your 20, 30, 40% rate increases. But I don't want to take a 20 or 30% rate increase because of y'all, which is literally subsidizing the losses of that book. So what you're really saying is, hey, I'm going to go out and do a captive because I think I can purchase reinsurance better. I think I can lower my fixed expenses better than the insurance company can. And a lot of the times, not only are you going to get your money back from your loss fund, but you're going to actually individually negotiate contracts with the reinsurance carrier, so your fixed expenses go down,
Correct.
and you're amongst your peers in a group captive at the annual meetings talking about problems.
Yep.
And just like you said, you have a voice at the table. You have a voice. So they can't go into a deal and do a bad faith incident on a claim, and you not say anything. Like you just go into the meeting as a shareholder and say, this is like We got to do something about this. We need a new TPA. We need a new third party administrator for these claims.
Yep.
You can't do that. You cannot select your own legal counsel in the commercial market. You cannot select your own claims administrators. You have a vote, you have a voice, and it reduces negative outcomes with claims. But here's the deal. A lot of people, I say, is a misnomer with these captives. They want to focus on the dividend piece. And I'll say, forget about the dividend piece. Forget about it. Let's say you didn't get a penny in dividend because they're like, I'm waiting, Stephen, for this. I joined a group captive and it's the fourth year I get my money back. But I don't even understand why I have to wait 4 or 5 years, Stephen. Why do I even wait? My agent told me that I'm going to get it in year 2. And I'm like, well, your agent doesn't know what he's doing. But number one, number two, you do that because you're building surplus
Yep.
you're in the insurance business. You're building a surplus, which is unused premiums. You're investing it between 5 and 9%, depending on, conservative or aggressive and who you're using as the investment management company. You get to choose that, by the way, too. But you're getting early renewals, efficient, but you're getting normally, if it's functioning properly, flat rates. You're never going to get a flat. You're going to get 10%, which is a standard rate increase on the commercial market across the board for every policy, regardless of what your claims history does. And you've got your 5-year report card, your 5-year claims history. You're not getting rewarded even for being good. So why
Yes.
should I care about risk management, Stephen? That people are saying that. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a ministry, if it's a contractor, a healthcare company, it doesn't matter. What the problem is they don't have a financial incentive to be safe. Everybody wants to say, well, I want to be safe because that's the right thing to do. Yeah, I like that. I like where your head's at, but I want to create a product that financially incentivizes people to talk about the risks that they face and become better risks.
Of course.
Collaborate with their peers because I can't collaborate. When you collaborate with a business owner in construction, you get so much more out of it
Oh,
than you were just
it's
talking to an
wonderful.
insurance agent. You know things that I just don't know in the inner day, every workings. Agents, they come in, a claim happens, something bad happens, we show up. Or at best, sometimes not even then, but at renewal, we show up. When we need to get the money, we handle it, we finance the premium if need be, but we're not on the ground every day talking about safety and really the nitty gritty things that makes you a top 10 or 15% risk. And here's the deal, but that's not my next point. Okay. So in the commercial market, agencies have contingency fees. They profit share. When you're good, when your book is good, the agency brings accounts and writes policies with whoever insurance company,
Mm.
and they share profits. Do you think the agent should get a cut for that book being safe? Do you really think that an agent knows anything about being safe? Better yet, not only does he not know, do you know that he wasn't the one putting in that work, investing in the safety people, having the
Culture.
safety meetings, the culture? That agent does not deserve a penny of that money. You know where that money goes in a captive? Not in the agent's pockets, not in the insurance company's pockets. It goes right back into the business owner's pockets where it should be. That's just
Mm.
how it should be. I'm a very simple guy. I believe most of the time things should happen the way they should happen. And I'm in terms of fairness, that isn't to me fair because you're incentivizing somebody, hey, you brought us some good accounts. And the insurance underwriters and the insurance companies will tell the agencies, no, you're good. You did it. You did it. You sent us good accounts. They performed well in their claims history for 5 years. Here's your check. Where's that? That's a dividend to the business owner.
Ooh.
You think I had anything to do with that company? I have nothing to do with the
Oh,
fact that
your
that
support
company
system when shit
spent
hits
their
the
money.
fan, right?
I'm support, yeah. I spar with claims adjusters in the commercial market, but that's another thing. You go into a captive, the outcomes are better. You have a voice. I don't have to come in and save you. I will in the commercial market, but I like the ability for you to not need me.
Mm.
I want you to have a vote where you say there's going to be hell to pay. I'm calling the group members like this is not happening. We're getting rid of these people, and you have the influence to make that happen through a vote and through your power. I can't do that. I can't pressure insurance companies like that.
Yep.
So love it.
No, I
I
think
love the
that's so.
experience.
No, it's so well said. I didn't know about the agencies, and I think you're 100% right. It's just, I mean, there's a lot that goes into having a good year. You're so correct. Like it is constant safety, culture, quality. It's one of those things where I love the word the phrase continuous improvement. I love it, but at the same time, I hate it because there's no end. There will never be a finish line that we ever reach that stops this game from ever happening, because every single time you bring in a new employee, the next generation, it's all new training, the way you look at things, the way you have to communicate things. That's just the constant evolution of business.
I hate the way insurance companies look at producers. They say we control the accounts, and they
Mm.
don't understand the relationship we built. And a lot of the times they'll say, please sell these policies. What I hate about a commercial insurance is say, please do this, sell these policies, we'll pay you 15% commission. My concept with this is you're seeing agencies let their biggest clients pay one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, $10 million. They've never even had a discussion about captives. So I went all the way around Texas, and morally, I think that's wrong, because I think if you're an agent, you have a duty to present, no matter what the commission is. If it's 10% captives through a captive management company, you make less money. So you're better. You put better product on the table, right? You let that business owner decide if he wants to stay in the commercial market or go into a captive. What happens? I mean, even some of the best agents, period, they haven't even. No, I'm too anxious about having the discussion because I can't face the business owner because he has too many objections and it makes me uncomfortable. I said, look, man, I tell people this: your job is to push. Your job is to tell them, and that's what I do at renewals. I make 15% on this standard market policy, and I make 10%. So I take a 5% bath. I make less money. And a lot of people's mentality is just don't tell anybody about commission and how we get paid. No, 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 no. Transparency, like put it above table, tell the good and the bad. Say, look, this is the premium. I make 15% on this, but I want you to see that there's a captive right here and I make less money and I'm going to push hard for this. And you're going to see where my strength comes from and my passion comes from because
Mm.
I believe in this product. I can do more with this product than that product. I want something people like. I don't care. No one cares about a 5% spread. No
Mm.
one cares. What do we want? I want a customer that's happy, that can challenge a claim, change a TPA, change their legal team, can talk to their actuary or their underwriters every year about certain things, anything they want to talk about, or other business owners about safety. I just like where it goes. I think it incentivizes people to have better businesses, and they get a cut.
Yeah, that's really good. It's so interesting you mentioned about incentive, because I think a lot of companies, like, we changed just in our BD group, like, we don't incentivize front end sales, which is pretty unusual. The reason that is because, one, I was tired of having where does the purchase order come from conversation with two different BD people, right? They're like, well, it's coming from New Jersey, but technically the work's in Pennsylvania. So blah. I was like, I'm done with this. And the second one is, why should you make money if a project doesn't do well, right? Just because you brought it in, what if it's the wrong fit? What if it's a terrible customer? What if it's not a partner? What if the situation on site you knew was not going to fit us well, right? All of those
Mhm.
reasons, it's incentivizing. Not I love incentivizing collaboration. Like, I think that is the ultimate goal to efficiency. Ultimate efficiency is sitting in a room and listening to people solve the problems because they know it should go somewhere else. Sharing work, sharing help, sharing individuals, sharing skills, all that stuff. When that starts happening, you can do so much more with the same amount of people than you would ever do by incentivizing silos. I believe, at least what I've seen. But yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Siloed. So one of the big issues with risk management is people rely too much on their brokers. So if you look at a lot of companies, especially middle market, is they don't have a dedicated risk management department.
Mm.
And a lot of times they're paying the HSE director buku money. And I looked at Chat GPT. I said, Chat, why is the HSE guy making 15 or 20% more than like the head of insurance or risk? Like I was looking at some of these different things. Like, why is that? And it said, well, it's just kind of the way they perceive it. HSE is kind of like real and on the ground. This is what happened. How are we going to treat it? But like with insurance, people just kind of, if they're making money, they just kind of like, well, whatever. It's all the same anyway. Mentality. So I was like, oh, that's sad because I do these 5-year look backs, and it shows 5-year look back shows if they would have hypothetically a company would have hypothetically joined a captive 5 years ago. I plug in their premiums spent for their insurance premiums and their claims. So I show them potentially. I mean, this got pretty out of control, but millions and millions of
Mm.
dollars on just middle market accounts, middle market contractors, and they didn't know about it. It's an opportunity cost. I was in the commercial market. I said, well, yeah, but you lost millions of dollars in dividends. But here, that's not even the worst part. Is you've been paying rate increases and you haven't been having claims. You've been having claims at this much a clip. Like, let's just say it's 35, 40 cents on the dollar for the last 5 years a clip. What'd you get for it? You know what you get for it in a captive? I bet 30, 40, 50% of your money back. Oh, by the way, every year you get a flat renewal, so don't discount the 10 to 15 to 20% you also
Yes.
overspent in the commercial market due to the hard market. So that's a real tough question. I love that because I think it's a great way to show people like, hey, you can do this.
Yes.
Because a lot of the time, the biggest misnomer is, but Stephen, like if I ever have any claims, I'm going to get crushed. I was like, no, if you're average to want to be better, you're still saving money and
Yes.
you're getting some kind of a dividend back. You don't have to be the best risk.
No.
You can be aspire to be great, and then you can become great and be better. Okay, in a group captive because you're focused on it. But with that, you don't have to be amazing. You don't have to have all the answers. You can make mistakes. But the biggest thing is, what did you do about it after you had a claim? What was your
Mm.
action plan? You know.
Do you think the worry with having to be more transparent and then also being judged by the group members is a scary part for people?
Well, here's the thing about that. So risk sharing. So one of the other biggest misnomers is, but Stephen, I don't want to share risks with other people. Oh, really? You don't? What do you think an insurance company so when you did a 30% rate increase on your premiums, do you think that was just because of you? No, see, I'm kind of pissed. My rates went up. Oh, really? So you didn't have claims, it went up 30%. What do you think that insurance company based that on? If it's not your individual loss history, what was it? I think I'm sharing risk. Yeah, you're sharing risk. You're sharing risk. You're never not sharing
But
risk.
you have no
Insurance
control.
companies to be compliant with the IRS have to share risk. They have to stay compliant. Every insurance company has to distribute risk across large
Mm.
exposure units. That's insurance. You're always sharing risk. What are you really doing in a captive? You're sharing risk with better risks with better risks.
Yeah.
You're leaving the crap that's out in the market that's getting smoked and you're sharing risk with actually people that you should share. And I implore people with these group captives, it's a lot like a country club. Look, if you're a little worried about it, let's do this. Let's call people that are in the captive. You ask them these questions. How's the surplus doing? Did you get dividends? What was it? What was your loss ratio? Just ask them questions like, "Hey, is this real? What do
Yeah.
you think about it?" That's when actually a bit, if it's especially if it's a prospect, somebody that's not a current client of mine, and they're skeptical. I said, "Look, I invite you to be skeptical. Let's get a couple of members that are already in, and let's see if they're good risks or not. You tell me if these risks are some of the top 15 or 20% in safety in claims. Why do you think that is?" They're the 15 or 20% that exited the market. And what I like to do is find people that are in that, have that risk profile, but don't know anything about captives because their agent is too scared to talk to them about it.
Or don't want to
Maybe because
lose
they
the
make less money.
5%.
They don't want to lose the 5%. And that's actually sadly the
Oh,
most worst thing is like most agents. I like to believe that almost all agents would think that way. Like, I don't care about 5%. I know my father did, and I know I did. We would just laugh, like even in the commercial market. I had actually had a renewal that was ugly. They had a claim. The business owner is a big oil and gas company, and he let his girlfriend get in his company vehicle and wrapped it around a tree,
mm.
right? Got in a huge wreck. It was a third party and physical damage, so it's auto phys dam and auto liability. That's the worst thing you can do on a commercial auto policy because it's a personal exposure. They did not underwrite that particular spouse. It's covered because it's scheduled on the policy, right? And it's a symbol one, any owned auto within the business. So it's covered for auto liability and the auto phys dam. Huge deal, $400,000. Pissed the company off, non-renewed non-renewed. Not even didn't even give them the pleasure of a 50% rate increase, non-renewed. So now we're in the high risk market trying to get a bad quote. And I said, look, my job is to tell you why they're pissed. As your representative, I'm fighting because you've been a great account for 20 years for them and made money. But I just want to let you know this is how these people think. These people were robbed of the ability to underwrite that lady who probably could have had an NVR with a speeding ticket, and they could have rejected her as a driver on the policy. Number one, she's not even working in the business. So you never give anybody your keys to go at midnight to go wherever and crash the car. So that was an ugly one. And sometimes you have to have difficult conversations
Mm.
around that. But a commercial market there, I showed her. I said, "Listen, people, you don't know how people are." So I show her this. I was texting her these quotes, these two umbrella quotes. Same commission. One of them is $60,000 more expensive. She needs a 4 million umbrella, and I screenshotted her. I just got a brand new quote at the last minute that was $40,000 less, and I wanted to challenge her on the morality of it. I said, no, I think I'm just going to give you the higher one because I showed her. She knew what the first quote was. I think nobody knows. I mean, would you ever know? Because I was showing it to her. I said, "Listen, you would never know this. This is in marketing. They sent me this. I can just throw it in the toilet. This lower quote and just make my 15% at a $40,000 more in premium, more commission, more money happens all the time. But what I show them is this: why you've never went out and talked to another agent is because this is a dime a dozen.
Mm.
People will throw captive proposals under the table and lose their clients millions of dollars. And we're talking about agents who are on the board of associations and are
Woo.
very big people. See, you see a lot of crazy stuff in my line of work. It hurts me because we have a fiduciary duty. We have a duty to teach. We have a duty to make the decisions in the best interest of our clients, even when they're not looking, especially when they're not looking, especially. And we have a lot of leeway. And I wanted to show her, hey, this is every day for an agency. They have millions of renewals. They could just any other agency could just throw those lower quotes out there at the door and just renew you. And she was hurt, and she was like, I've been praying about this. Like I really wanted to see if you could do better on the umbrella. And we did. But I wanted to show her that higher quote and say, listen, you could have had somebody else as your agent. This could have been you for 20 years. How much do you think that would have cost you? That's what she's never even come
Mm.
close when an agent calls her and asks her if they're happy or sad. She's like, look, dude, I've got my agent's an expert and he's very taking very good care of us. He makes good decisions and educates us. We're so happy. And I was so proud of that even when times were tough and she would have a problem, she would admit that she was at fault. She wouldn't blame the agent. She wouldn't say, well, you're just a shitty agent because you don't have any markets. Why can't you get me something for cheap when I have terrible claims? None of that. None of that.
Mm.
So I've been blessed to have people that are reasonable and understand when things go wrong, and they
Well, you're putting good out there, Stephen. So I believe that you get that reciprocal back, right? So you're probably quite choosy around customers on the other side of the fence too, just as much as they are with you.
yeah, that is true. That is true because I think a lot of the times the hard part is, so our job is, if we're working on new business, I have to evaluate the current broker. Well, that's somebody that they've done business with,
Yeah.
that they have a lot have done something for them on a claim. It's emotional because it's when you're an insured and you own a business, it's the agent that does everything, and good or bad, good or bad.
Hmm.
And a lot of the times it has nothing to do with the agent. It's just insurance company stuff.
Yeah.
But business owner, you've got to evaluate an agent unbiased, in an unbiased manner, in a professional manner that says, on a scale of 1 to 10, this is how good they've handled your account. But you have to be honest. You can't go in there and just like grandstand on small things. It has to be very material to the business owner. And I think ultimately that's the best way you do work on accounts that aren't yours, that are somebody else's, is
Yeah.
you're honest and fair about the job the current broker has done to date. And I've seen a lot of really good brokers. And you're right on being choosy with business owners. You got to be very careful, because if you go into a situation, and you know this, if you're an agent that says, "Oh, your agent's terrible," you know what the business owner's going to say? "Oh, you telling me I make bad decisions on who to hire?
Ooh.
Is that what you're telling me?" That is the number one rule, is when you go in and you say, "So wait a minute, so you're telling me an agent's bad, so you're telling me I'm crummy at selecting agents? You're telling me that the agent," you'll get that a
Sure.
lot of the time with type A personalities that run these big companies. You will get that. So you have to really be careful to not do it ethically, but to, sometimes you have to say, hey, this is really bad. Like the deal when they throw a proposal under the table, it's a captive and losing billions of dollars. That is where you have to be like, look, I got to tell you something I found. This is not
Mm.
good. But most of the time, agents do a great job. Uh, but it can be potluck at times. Business owners love them, love them.
You seem to have a very empathetic approach to this whole thing, and I'm sure you fight the narrative of insurance and lawyers are kind of in the same field,
Yeah.
So you must battle that a lot. But once you get in, I could feel like your approach would be, you're super transparent, you're open, you're clear, you understand what you're selling to the point where you can probably curb that conversation to exactly what the customer needs all the time because you're so knowledgeable, but you also know what they're probably struggling with. Um, how does that, is that an uphill battle all the time when you talk about just everybody hates insurance? You talked about it a little bit earlier.
So the what we have to fight is, so everybody hates insurance, but let's unpack why. Okay, the cheesy commercials. Okay, the transactional nature of the sell, which is 99.9%. Everybody is the same, and everybody likes to say they have all these markets and have great service. They talk about general things that no
Mm.
one cares about. So if you go into a meeting, if I'm in a meeting with you or anybody, a lot of these agents will talk about themselves the whole time. They'll be like,
Mm.
"We're great.
Been there.
This agency's awesome," and you're like, "Dude, I don't care. I don't care. I want you. How are you going to help me?" So that's kind of, you have to shift the mindset of, I'm a business person, so be a
Mm.
respectable member of the business community. Lawyers are mostly I say respected. Some not. Some people don't like
Everybody's
lawyers,
got
but
their people, right?
exactly. So lawyers, engineers, doctors, these are like your leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs, CEOs, executives, CFOs. Those are like the people that are the elites. They go into school, they were the top. So like for me, a lot of the times, what I wanted to do in being a CPCU, I wanted to be niche, but I wanted to be seen as a professional that is not just an insurance bloke, just a dude that just sells them a bunch of different quotes and
Yeah.
is cheap. I want to be a dude that gets into the guts of the policies that nobody reads. I want to be a dude that protects companies from financial disasters, from uncovered claims they didn't know about. I have a gift to where, like, I'll go into business and there's not many people that have brains like this. You're just looking around, you're like, okay, all right. Like that's right there is one thing. So I just think I'm a sick puppy. I think about things that could go wrong, and at the very least, I bring it up into a conversation and be like, "Hey, is this enough for you to want to address it? Do
Mm.
you want it? Do you want to get an endorsement, or do you want to change the captive, customize the policy to allow for these sorts of things? Because insurance policies are not designed to be really awesome. I mean, like your coverage triggers, or you have to have damage, or you have to be sued. So it's just not a great experience. And there's ways you can customize the policies that make it pay claims quicker, and they're not quite as they're not as manipulative in front of, because a lot of the insurance company, they know how to work. They know how the policies work, so they use it to their advantage, and it causes a lot of issues. But I would say this: a respectable member of the business community. So, like, I don't just understand policies at an expert level. I can evaluate captive insurance companies' financials, and assess their financial health
Nice.
by using financial ratio calculations. I want to bring insurance into the business world so people can be financially literate in terms of risk, in terms of financing their risk, and they can understand the relationship between claims and losses and premiums they pay. And because everybody's really familiar with buying a house, why buying a house is a financial decision they should make versus renting. Well, captives, that's what they are. You're
Mm.
buying a
Great
house,
point.
building equity, and you're buying a new house from the ground up. So technically, you're building your own house, which is almost anybody can understand why that's better than renting an apartment a year to year and looking at price, which is what the commercial market is. So I say use analogies, tell stories, find ways to keep companies in business. And do the best you can, and just be a respectable member of the business community. You can only do that with value based
Mm.
consulting and not transactional selling. Let me quote you for cheap.
What'd you study in school?
Finance.
Yeah.
Finance. I did real well. I was cum laude at LSU in finance. So and that's what I tell people. I'm a business person.
Yeah, I can
That's
tell.
what people want to hear. That's what
Yeah.
people want to hear. Like, oh, so you own an insurance agency. You're a business person in that sense. You've worn many hats. It's even better to own an agency that's smaller, that you grow from nothing, than to like go work for this national,
Yep.
the big four,
Yep.
right? Because those people have so many teams. All they do is just like they're not detail people.
They're
They're not
not
going to figure out
doers.
how to
Yeah.
yeah, they're not going to go negotiate with an underwriter a price. They're not doing that. The marketing department does it for them. So you really don't gain a lot of skills other than just the picking up the phone and dialing for dollars, which is not skillful. That's not that you don't acquire anything. It's just luck of the draw. So for me, I was a business person. I did real well in school, uh, and I wanted to do something that tied in with like investments and accounting and insurance has its own, SAP financial
Yeah.
accounting. So it's like a different deal. It's a different language of insurance. And what I found is like this is a language that I could bridge with like the gap method and like the actual corporate accounting and finance, and I can like marry those languages up and teach people like how this stuff works on that side so they can participate in captives.
Yeah. How many people work for your agency?
100.
The reason I ask that, and it's not a judgment question. What's your leadership style?
Leadership style, oh, like somebody asked me that. So I a lot of people have asked me this, like Steven, you've reached the technical expertise that you can't get any higher. But the fallacy with that is I learn stuff new every day, and I learn stuff from account managers. My father, who was not a book person, you can learn a minister if you're insuring a ministry. Like you don't know everything when there is no like light bulb where you get to this point where it's like I know everything. Like actually you get to a point where you get to the top, and what freaks you out is it's like, dude, if this is the very top, like, wow, like I still don't know a lot. I need to keep
Mm.
studying. I want to go into get my subject matter expertise in captives and do some different things with there's a lot of innovative things in parametric insurance, which is a different way to uh, to ensure different events for like weather related things.
Mm.
So there's a lot of growth in the captive space with the single parents, but we're also getting the situation where we're doing these sponsored sales, and we're creating this ecosystem for people that can't own a captive themselves to actually come in and be lent space. Like let's just say like I create let's say this big condominium place, and there's all these condominiums you can own. Well, like I can create an ecosystem where you can go there, and it's called a protected cell, and you can be your own individual protected cell and not share any risk with anyone else, and have but it's good because of the startup costs are a lot less than forming a single parent captive. So like it's innovating in a way. So
Mm.
like what I like is options. So like if somebody likes to be in a group captive, if somebody likes to want to say, look, I've done this for 10 or 15 years, I've grown. What's next is I want to start putting some more coverages. I want to do supply chain risk and really bespoke the policies, because in group captives, those are really traditional. Those are not highly customizable. So what ultimately happens is the business owner has a decision to make when it gets big enough to where it can be its own thing, right? But the benefits to that is what I like, because it's like, well, here are we, like, what's the exit plan if you want to do that? So I like the fact that you can bespoke you can customize the policies, supply chain risk if it's like a manufacturer, if that's a big deal, for that particular industry, and you can add property to it. You can also add customizable business
Yeah.
insurance coverage, which is big for a lot of industries, because that coverage form is not fun for the
Mm.
commercial forms, because you have to have physical damage to your property, your insured premises. So like you have to have like an insurable peril hit your building. Like there's still exclusions,
Jeez.
and it's not when you're talking about business interruption coverage and getting lost income back on down. There's all kinds of downtime in business. But
Mm.
what's insured under the business interruption policy? Not much. You have to have actual physical damage to your building to trigger coverage under the policy. It's just like a property policy. So if you look at like property, if you're insuring your building, That's
Yeah.
whatever is covered under your property is generally going to be covered under your business interruption. But what are you thinking? You're thinking like, dude, there's all kinds of like lost income I can have that isn't physical damage to a building. Are you telling me that that wouldn't be covered in this? Yeah, sure. How much time do you have? You got an hour? We can talk about. Tell me about all the things you can lose money on this that you can't gain back and file as a claim under your business interruption. So you can
Yeah.
do customizable things there in the protected cells. Those they're just captives. They're individual captives. But the cool thing is when you have an individual protected cell, you have a cell company that you create that's a legal entity, and underneath it you can let other unrelated businesses come in and form and be separate legally. It's not a separate legal entity, but it's separate. It's a separate structure that doesn't share risk, so you don't share liabilities of
Mm.
other people in their other cells, and you can add coverages. So I like innovation and options, and those are cool things to introduce to people because it's about creativity, the stuff you do. So like that book you wrote, that's everything's taboo. Like it's nobody would ever write a book about how to connect me and a successful business person to gaming. You did it. You just went headfirst into it. So like for me, that's like, oh, that's elite creativity. Elite. Like I'm fixing to buy that. But I haven't wanted to buy a book. I don't think I've ever wanted to buy a book. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna buy this book. And I got thinking to myself, I'm gonna buy this book. I don't even read books. I play video games, dude. But I'm gonna buy a book about a dude, about a bloke who started a company, got really successful, still games. I love that. It's like, oh, I still game. So how it connects to like what I'm talking about is the creativity. The captives, it's fully creative. Like if you want to stay in a group and you feel safe there, you're going to get a return there. If you
Mhm.
want a little more return, a little more customization, a little more differentiation, a little more say, you could go into another structure. And who knows what will happen in 10 or 20 years? What are they going to create 10, 20 years in captives? It's already taken 50% of the market. It's not an alternative risk anymore. It's not the other thing. Because people have been telling me, like, what's a captive? That word's not good. I don't like that word. I love that. I'll sit down with somebody and talk about captives for an hour. But Stephen, let's address this word captive. What am I a
It's
captive of?
triggering me.
It's a trigger word, and I'm trying to get into like insane things about the policies, and I'm in outer space thinking about all this other stuff and
Yeah,
trying to like deliver this deal, and homeboy wants to talk about the word captive, a word.
I know.
What does that mean? I'm like, it means nothing, dude. You own your risk. Like it doesn't mean.
So
Let's just let you
So
know.
what's fascinating? Well, one, I didn't start the company, so I appreciate you saying that, but I am not the starter. My father-in-law actually started the company in '84, and so he went from a one-car garage to 140 people, which is insane in half a lifetime. But
Mhm.
two, what I find so fascinating about you, and I'm going to go back to my question because you didn't answer it, and that's fine. You are an extreme visionary, innovator, and executioner all at the same time. Like you can think about something crazy, you can research the shit out of it or chat GPT the shit out of it. And then you can
Mhm.
actually turn it into a process or procedure to make it real.
Mhm.
So back to my leadership question, those people, and I'm using those people, I mean, like in general, your type of brain, do you struggle at all leading people?
Mhm.
Why do you think
No,
that
I
is?
inspire people. So like
Yeah.
me, I'm like I love to like inspire people.
Feel
So, for
potential.
instance, like the CPCU, I did it in 10 months. My counselor said, you're crazy. Number one, you're a street producer. You're not an underwriter. You're not any of this. You're not a primed up like executive in the back room at an
Yeah.
insurance company. You're not going to wreck this program. I told her, like, no, I'm going to wreck it. I'm going to tell you I'm going to wreck it. And in 11 months, I'm going to roll out of here with A's and B's, very swift. I'm going to run like the wind, and you're going to get dominated because I decided you're going to get dominated. And she was like, I don't know how to take that. And but when I left, she was like, I'm so glad I met you because you have a youthful exuberance
Yeah.
of like you're a guy who did something like I've never seen before, but you're also a dude that acts like you're 15, like you're doing it for like the thrill. And no one loves insurance like that. No one's
Yes.
dumb enough is gonna spend 10 months Monday through Sunday and study all these stupid books and go through that mental pain. I was like, I will do it. I promise you I will if I decide to. So leadership, I like to inspire people. The reason why I tell that story, and a lot of
Yeah.
people are like, oh, okay, he's talking about himself. I'm like, no, no, no,
No.
no, no. I want you to get it. I want you to stop making excuses about what you think smart people are. I'm a dude with ADHD. I have a learning disability. So you're telling me a cripple's better than you? And then a lot of people get competitive. They're like, no, 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 I can do it. I said, of course you can. I've got all the books right over here. Why don't you? Well, I'm just not really I don't know. Like I've thought about the people that get those designations, doctors, and then it goes on from there. And I'm like, dude, you are lying if you think that those people are just got there because they're naturally smart. That's a lie. And I
Mhm.
don't like people telling themselves lies because those are dangerous lies. Because that means that they could have done something great and they felt like they weren't cut out for it. And I like to tell people my story, which is I'm nowhere near the smartest person in my high school, nowhere near the smartest person in my group chat. I've got, you know, investment bankers. I've got all kinds of people that are very lawyers, doctors. My wife's a doctor. She's a CRNA at Parkland. I'm around smarter people than me every day. So
Mm.
I like to get people going to achieve something, whether it's education or if it's a business owner overcoming those obstacles with captives. I want to just push right through that because I feel like that's my duty is
Yeah.
to push through it. It's not my duty to sell anything. It's my duty to illuminate illuminate what the commercial market is, the captive market, make them make the decisions that they want to make and help them understand it. I like to lead in that way. Like I want people to be inspired by my story, whether it's personal or business, and say, look, you can do whatever you want to do.
Have you always had this much clarity in your life and what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I've always wanted to be an insurance agent. So when I was in high school, they made you as a senior put down what you wanted to be when you grow up, and then they would send it to you after you graduated college to see, just kind of see, because some people are like, "Oh, I wanted to be like an astronaut," and ended
Yeah.
up being like a cop.
Yeah.
And mine was insurance agent. That was cool to get that letter because it has my handwriting in it. It's something I wrote down
Yeah.
20 something years ago. And I'm like, wow. And so my English teacher was like, yeah, dude, you're doing it. This is your dream. So I've always wanted to do what I'm doing now. Yeah, I've always had this much clarity. I think interestingly enough, I never knew about captives until recently. So I would say the difference in clarity between me today and me 15 years ago was I loved commercial insurance. That was the only option there. I loved helping people, but I got to a point where I had a passion, a true passion for captives, and it fit my style of selling.
Yeah.
It was something I believed in, and I want to sell things I believe in. I don't want to sell crappy products. And I just think, honestly, transferring risk via the commercial market. I mean, I love the people in the commercial market. Under, I have a tons of friends. I have people that only sell that stuff. I'm not saying it's there's a right or a wrong way, but I think there's just a way for me that's best. And the way that I need to go about my business is to make sure that people who can get in captive should.
Yeah. That's really good. You can hear it. I mean, you can hear all the things you're saying come through your voice and the way you talk about it. Super, super clear. Like I mean, it's pretty real. You're pretty real, dude.
Yeah, they get me straight to the board. I talk to people with law degrees at Stanford, and I told my dad, I was like, I can't believe this big company is going to let me talk for like, I guess it was 3 hours. And I was like some geeky like insurance dude. And then like the HR guy was like, dude, look, like I appreciate you coming in and giving us pointers on it and consulting with us about it. But if there's something about board members, they don't want to see their mistakes. They don't want to be shown out
Mm.
on a board. And mine is an advisor, so like I'm thinking protective. Like I have to protect the board, this company. I got to go in here and tell them that we need to change this. I don't want to dwell in the past, but I do think there is a better way through a captive to do this, and it's a way that you can get on the ground level and really ensure operational risks, really ensure the risk at hand that needs to be insured, and not this cookie cutter stuff that only insurance companies want to insure that businesses find out when they're out of business that it won't get paid. So I have a conviction about what I do, and people respect me because I come from a place, I guess, of enthusiasm and authority. Because people can see it. Like I'm very sure about what I know. Well, yeah, if you study for 11 months and don't come out of your house, from, nonstop, that's an experience. That's a transformative experience. You're not going to be the same once you get out of there. You're going to think about what the world differently, and you may definitely think about risk differently. So I think the transition for me was into captives. It's just there's more oomph to it. There's
Mm.
more oomph and pep in my step when we're talking any form of captive.
Yeah. Yeah. With what you just mentioned about the board and not wanting to hear what you did wrong, do you think, and this just brings up, I ask this question sometimes, is insecurity the biggest risk to leadership?
Yeah, so that's actually a good point. So what I have found being in front of executives, they have a duty of care, loyalty. They're on the board, right? So they're a fiduciary. And what I'm thinking is like, screw your feelings, dude. This should be about your constituents. Like if you want to start a captive formation, like I told you, those sponsored sales for all billions of customers that you have, it should be about what matters. It should be about what matters to them. Are we not in the business of trying to create an insurance product that helps them? They're in trouble. They're in trouble. They're in the commercial market. They can't get anything. You're trying to help them. Who cares about the decisions you made? As I have said, like I don't care about your insecurities. I know you went to Stanford and you're a lawyer. Like I love lawyers. I know you're smart, but like you have to understand that that doesn't mean you're smart at everything. And there's
Mm.
specializations in insurance. You have to rely on other people. And if you will give away some portion of your job, and you'll see a lot of legal people, they'll take it. They don't know anything about how all that stuff functions. And you're not going to know about captives. You're not going to go get an MBA or be a lawyer and know what the hell that is. You're not, unless you're working for a law firm that specifically handles that. So 99 times out of 100, nobody knows.
Yeah.
And they'll just, you need a specialist. You can't know everything. Doctors don't know everything. Like my wife is a CRNA. She knows doctor. That's how I kind of have come to learn that, like, dude, they're doctors that just don't know everything. She's like, dude, you wouldn't believe what this doctor knows and doesn't know fresh out of med school. And when you get older, you see that you're like, oh wow, these are really my peers. These are blokes that just got out of med school and they're trying to figure it out, like on OJT. OJT as a doctor. I only thought that was in my business. I thought OJT was just my stuff. A doctor? Surgery? It's true.
No, that's so brilliantly said. And I think this podcast has brought to light to me how many smart people are out there, like just sitting and talking to people for an hour about what they're passionate about. Well,
Mhm.
I everyone should do it because it to me, I reference it to reading a book for an hour. I learned shit that I would never learn before from people that I meet all over the world now, that it's just like I get to read a book for an hour with someone who is super passionate about whatever they're talking about. Like, perfect example.
Yeah.
I thought I knew quite a bit about captives, but I have learned more in this past hour simply because if you talk to people, that's why I never wanted to niche, because I want to run out of guests when I want to run out of guests when I'm done. But
Right.
as long as you just say, hey, just come on and talk about what you're passionate about, it's easy. Like, because
You're
people,
making me want to start a podcast, is what you're doing. My friends have been just at Steven, I swear to God, like do one, just do one on the weekends. I want to hear you talk about I want to hear you take a dump on LSU for like just give me an hour. Like I'll give you more than an hour. I'll take a dump on LSU as long as you want to hear it on their sports teams. You know what I mean? Because it's Louisiana slop right now. And we barely beat. I guess it was Little Rock. I didn't know they had a college, but they have a great coach, and they did real well. We almost lost to like literally, and we lost to Stony Brook in baseball like a number of years back. So I mean, baseball's is crazy. I would love to have a podcast. I'm really into. I think this podcast. I love the style of this
oh,
podcast.
thank you.
I like the delivery, and I didn't know this is the first one I've ever been on.
Mm.
Uh, and I felt comfortable. It was like what you told me. You were like, dude, if we're in this thing and we're talking, it's just like we're just talking, and you forget you've been doing this for an hour. Then we did good.
Did you forget we were doing it?
Oh yeah, dude, I forgot we were doing a podcast. within the first 3 or 4 minutes because I wanted to get into the gaming piece. I wanted to get in. I told my friend, I swear to God, this dude is a gamer. I'm going to figure out if it's Battlefield or if it's COD. But if it is one of those things, I'm going to set up a deal because my buddies are in my chat are like, dude, let's get him on COD. Let's start shredding. And I was like, yeah,
I've been getting back into
definitely.
Warzone quite a bit, actually. Playing casual though, because I don't like to get super sweaty, but I'll get super sweaty on Battlefield. I'm very excited about 6 coming out. I think it's coming out this fall.
My wife makes fun of me because I watch Broken Machine. She's like, Steven, you watch video games? That is like the dump. That's embarrassing. Like if I couldn't, I hope no one finds that out, right? If my
the
friends
world
found that
doesn't.
out, you need friends. Like you don't need to watch Broken Machine play video games. Either go play the video game, scratch the itch, but watching people play video games, that's like a whole new level. I'm like, oh.
Watching good people play is a different thing, right? Because you'll pick things up. One, I mean, Broken Machine's amazing. Jack Frag's another one. OG,
Okay,
right?
that's my top two. Yeah.
He's the OG Battlefield. I mean, like I could watch his Battlefield 4 videos where he's just running around like, pooping on snipers. Like it's one of my favorite things
Yeah.
to do. It's
No, I'm gonna screenshot. I'm gonna screenshot my subscription. Jack Frags and Broken Machine. It's like on weekends. I'm just like, yep, chill stream. Here we go.
Here we go. Yeah, no, it's the British accent. It's smooth. It's great. So, well, that was amazing. We didn't even get close to all my questions, but you nailed a lot of the things I wanted to talk about. So thank you for that. Captive insurance. So one, I want to give you a shout out here. Like if people were like, holy shit, Steven knows more about captive insurance and I need somebody on my side of the table that can help me through some of this stuff. How can people find you or get a hold of you if they're looking for help?
Absolutely. I mean, I work for the largest captive management companies in the world. Um, Levitt Group is the largest family-owned insurance agency in the country,
Nice.
privately held. But I've got a lot of friends in a lot of different spaces in the captive world. If it's not somebody's cup of tea, it could be in the future. A lot of the times they might not have enough premium in it. Maybe they're a little small business, but you get a roadmap for the future and you learn and become empowered. My deal is that education empowers businesses. So
Mm.
I educate people. I don't want to be in a silo. I have to, as an educator, use analogies, relate it to law scenarios, tell stories, and teach insurance. That's my duty to the public. Okay. So my deal is it doesn't matter where you're at in business. You could only have 20 or 30, 40 employees. You're not quite at 80 to 100 or more to think about alternative risk, but there's not a better time to at least understand the basics and be on a roadmap because a lot of people are blowing and going, man. They're having some success and they're thinking about their future and you need a long-term plan.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So Stephen B. Maxwell, I think it is on LinkedIn, or is it just
It
Stephen?
is Stephen B. Maxwell.
So you can
That's
check
my
him out
middle
there.
name.
Yeah. Do you want people to reach out to you on LinkedIn if they're interested? Is that the best way to do it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Feel free. Don't be
Okay.
shy.
Awesome. Well, thank you
I won't even
for.
send him a bill. I won't even send him a bill. I haven't worked a day in my life. I don't send people bills. I haven't sent people bills. I've been in the business 16 years. I just don't send bills.
No, I
I'm
think the other
slow.
thing, Stephen, is I think there's a lot of questions out there. And like we talked about, just being scared and just want somebody to go to obviously you're extremely knowledgeable about the subject. You're extremely passionate about it. And you just want to help people figure out what the best option is. That voice doesn't happen a lot in insurance. So you are a rare bird in your cell of people. And I think that's actually quite refreshing. So thank you for
Yeah, you
taking
have
that
to scream
approach.
it. You have to exude like, I'm not here to sell you something. Sometimes people don't know. And sometimes be
Agreed.
like, oh my God, when is he going to ask me a question I don't want to answer? And it's getting to that point where they're like, their heart's pumping and they're not listening to the person. And they're like, oh my God, am I going to have to buy something? And I'm just like, no, listen, 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 focus, focus, focus. I am not going to sell you anything between now and by the time I die. I'm just talking to you. And I've had people step back and be like, are you joking? How do you get paid? What are you doing? I was like, I'm doing what I'm passionate about doing.
Yeah.
I'm educating you. I'm a fiduciary to the public.
People don't realize that personal branding, and I think, at least I don't know, I've never been a claim. I don't think I'm a salesperson at all, but what I am trying to do from my seat is just give away as much free advice as possible on things that I'm passionate about. It's that simple. Whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's personal branding, gaming, AI, I already said that, or culture or whatever. Don't care. Just give as much free shit away, and you will get so much of that back that you won't even know what to do with it.
Absolutely. Just do people right. I
Yes.
think, like I said, I've got justice sensitivity or ADHD. I always think in terms of fairness. It sometimes my dad rubs them a long way. Like, dude, Steve, this is the real world. There's no such thing as fair in business.
Ooh.
There's just not. There's just everybody takes their money and it's unfair and it sucks. And I'm always like, I mean, to me, it seems like there's always like the best choice or the most right
The
thing to do
win-win.
based
Yeah.
on, yeah, like based on like what the other, if you're thinking about the other person. And I've been blessed enough to have that frame of mind to do that and to do right by people and to just help people on their journey wherever it is with business insurance.
100% agree, man. I've been pushing the abundance mentality for the last 2 years hard in the part of even going to our biggest competitors in our area and saying, hey, you got space? You need work? We're full. You full? And you know how much that comes back? Hey, we got an opportunity. This seems like it may fit you better. But that is like, we're never in our construction world going to have enough people. So how do we solve all the work? We're going to have to collaborate and get
Right.
super good at sharing whatever it is we all need. And I think that can be US wide. I'm crazy enough to think that that's actually possible. And all it comes down to is scheduling work and having open communication and transparency to say, can anybody handle this? Because I got this and I can't fit it.
Yeah.
Is that crazy? I don't think so. Why not?
No. No. I mean, well, I tell you what, I started my LinkedIn page with nothing. I didn't drop any content, and my following went from like 400,000, 400 connections to 4,200 in like
Yeah.
no time, right?
Yeah.
A year. And the people that love it are like, "What are you doing? You're not posting content. So like, what's happening?" I was like, "I don't know." And they're like, "What do you think it is?" I was like, "Well, if it's not content, it has to be either my background, my messaging on my bio, or your brand, or the CPCU. It's got to be like it could be a combination of those things, but
Yeah.
that's what it is."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, that doesn't make any sense because if it was that easy, then." Like I guess other people would have this traffic. I'm like, I don't know, man. I can't answer the question. Ask marketing, somebody in marketing. I don't know, but about traffic, but
Do you comment a lot on other people's
nationally.
stuff?
No, didn't do anything. I've never put. I
Interesting.
just started to post high impact losses. So what I'll do is tell stories, like I told you, use
Yeah.
analogies, tell stories
Yeah.
about how policies fail and it puts insurance out of business. So like I want to tell those stories and go to each of those policies and it be relevant, right?
Yeah,
So
it's
I
brilliant.
started doing that because ChatGPT says, dude, you could do a little bit better. This is ridiculous. You're getting this many followers, but it could even be better if you actually, like
Try.
content post it.
Yeah.
So I use chat and check it every time I do like a scenario. I have to correct it. The cool thing about chat is like if it makes mistakes, like I'm just hammering it with the memory, and I'll just correct it on phrase. I'm big about phrasing because when you're posting content, the ultimate thing I want to do is post truthful, defensible content that's not untrue. These are things that either happened in the
Mm.
world, will happen. These are not just like, oh, it may or may not. These are things that are very common that fail on policies. And I like to put that out on the forefront. But so you're interested about national reach. So national reach, like I was doing that, and there's no telling where my following will go. It's going to explode.
Awesome.
I'm going to continue to do that. Probably do podcasts. Sounds really nice. Sounds really nice.
Dude, if you have any
Um,
questions about what to get, what to do, how to do it, should you use virtual, should you be in person? Yeah,
oh, all
we can
kinds of
have a
questions. Yeah.
conversation about
Mhm.
that of what's worked so far. Um, it's not hard to kick off for sure, and you'd be a great host because you kind of understand process and speed, and you're empathetic listener. So I think you have any problems.
Oh, I can dabble in sports. I can dabble in gaming. I can't talk about insurance the whole time.
No,
And
people
actually, I
won't
got on this
come.
podcast. I told my friends, I was like, dude, he asked me a little bit what I did, but like, I understand my like capacity for talking about insurance is always going to be infinitely more than anybody else's. And I went up to your page. I was like, this dude wrote a book on gaming. He's got a gaming chair. This guy is running a successful business. And he is creative because, like, who would ever have the balls to write a book about how gaming has made them successful? I felt like that was waiting to go out into the market and be purchased as a book because everybody wants to be like Tony Robbins or some crap that nobody wants to read. Like, I worked 100 million hours a week and I grinded. Well, a lot of real people don't believe those people. Like, I don't really believe you.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like those successful people. Like, did you work hard? Did you not? Who knows? Did you steal from money? Who knows? But a lot of people think of it like that. And they're just like, oh, I don't want to read that crap. But if somebody drops a book that's like, dude, I just was like a savage on COD growing up. And I there or like
I played the
I
shit
played,
out of
World of
Overwatch.
Warcraft, or this is the concepts I used for that. I was like, that was so insane. Like, I'm gonna buy my first book that I want to buy.
Well, thank you. One of my favorite chapters in it was talking about, I don't think people realize the communication skills you have to have when you, perfect example, you drop into Warzone, right? Duos, rando. You're going in
Mhm.
because it's right before you're going to go out. You just want to get one game in. You have
Right.
to, in 30 minutes, meet somebody that you can't see, you've never talked to before, and just based on a screen name, make friends enough that you can share in the concept that you want to both win. But how are you going to cooperate in 30 minutes time frame of someone you've never met before? And mind you, could be on a string of 5 losses, could have distractions in the background, maybe you're having a shitty day. You don't know any of that information, but you have to
Mhm.
cooperate in under 30 minutes to possibly get the same goal you both want, which is win. That is hard.
See, I knew you would convert, and I knew you would convert this idea because I was looking at ChatGPT. I was like, what in the hell could he have talked about? Give me some examples. Because I was like, that's really creative. And Chat said, yeah, that's really creative. It's very rare, and that could really do and sell. And I
Hmm.
was like, what do you think you would do with it? And it would go through concepts of what you would do. And then as soon as you dropped into what you just said, I was like, you can do so much with it. And I knew the man who had the idea, which is you from the outset, has even better concepts in the book in the context of like what you would go in. So like, yeah, no, it's that I'm thinking my buddy and I play uh Warzone.
Yeah.
And my answer is like I have a bloke that we can share a foxhole and go in and win that thing. But to your point, it's a little awkward.
Yeah, of
It's a
course.
little awkward. You're dropping into a war zone with a dog that you don't know. He could be 12 years old. He could be 50.
Correct.
Could be divorced. Could be married. You don't have no clue.
No.
And then you got to communicate with this dude in a very fast paced environment.
One of my best duos random wins ever in Warzone was with a person that didn't speak back, but I knew could hear me, was listening, because I would talk through things and they would react, right? Like, I think this person's right side, 162 behind the tree, whatever, right? And instant laying down fire so I can like make movement. So even
Hmm.
getting a victory with someone, you're getting nothing back, but you just have to keep
Oh yeah.
communicating, right?
Oh, I've had one of those. And it seems like that they're not talking, but their ability to hear you and like they're just about listening to the other person. They're not going to comment. Like, and they are savages because they will be like, you tell them like they will do. And you're like, dude, you're noticing like, well, I know you can hear me.
Totally agree. And I think that's a very underrated skill on the sense of not only negotiation skills and communication and friendship and leading, but not demanding. Like you can't just come in and be like, do this, or because then it's over. You've lost them.
No,
Right. It's a
no.
total collaboration, empathy from a person that you may never meet. Or, and my best friends, like probably yours, are my gaming friends that I met in 2006 and still will forever be for the rest of my life.
'06. I was a freshman in college at LSU. It's a good
You
year.
said you're 38, right?
38.
Okay, yeah. I'm 40. I'll be
'06
41
is a
this
good
year.
year. Yeah, 41. So yeah, so we're about the same age.
Yeah, it was a good. We were talking about that beforehand. But Stephen, 120 or an hour and 23 minutes. Thank you for all of this time. I'm sure we will be jumping in a tank together because it's always hard to find people to be gunners when I'm running around like a lunatic.
Yes.
But no, really fun. Thank you again for coming on. Thank you for talking gaming and yeah, and all the support and talking captives insurance. And it was fascinating. I know that you could talk about insurance forever, but someone who's passionate about it, who can talk in a way that people who don't know about insurance and can understand, that's a skill. So, and you have that, and I thank you for that.
Yes, sir. Great podcast. Look forward to continue to listen to your episodes
Thanks.
and catching some of your YouTube videos and
Yeah.
things of that nature. I know you'll do well with the book. I'm gonna be watching. I'm gonna buy it as soon as I get off.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for listening.